Hello, once again, welcome back to Crypto Toro. I'm very glad that we are joining once again to look at the current crypto market and the crypto space in general. So let's take a look at what we are seeing right now, and I will be starting today this live stream with the Ethereum data that I have. So let's take a look at it. If you have any requests, don't forget you're always very welcome to request the particular coin you want me to talk about on the comment section. But right now I will be heading further by taking a look at this, and what I'm seeing is that I have to adjust just a small tad my screen for all of you so you are able to see it just a little bit clearer. But I personally I'm not quite sure if you are seeing this anything better. I'm very sorry for this inconvenience. And let's take a look at this. I will show it to you like this. And yeah, let's just proceed. Let's proceed further. As you are seeing, I have some technical difficulties, so I'm very sorry for that. I did not thought this would happen, so I'm sorry for this inconvenience at the moment. I will be adjusting just one small thing. Yes, perfect. So this is way better for you all. And what we're seeing is right over here on the screen, we are already seeing the Ethereum compared to the US dollar chart. And what I wanted to show you is right now on the 4-hourly time frame, we are still acknowledging this downtrend on Ethereum. And of course, what I'm personally looking for is for Ethereum to get above this downward sloping resistance line that we are seeing over here, and especially because, as you can see, we already had in the past, and you could even start it. Well, then it would be a little bit too far. I personally think it would be possible, but then we won't be having a good look at this right now. But what we are seeing is actually we're already seeing 3 touch points on this downward sloping resistance line, and this means it is a significant resistance that we are seeing above the current price action of Ethereum. And I personally think that this could be the point where Ethereum would be rejected, or either Ethereum will break above this downward sloping resistance line and finding support either on top of the downward sloping support line that it would become, or on top of the support that it will find on $2,912. So that could be also possible that Ethereum will be finding support right on top of that. And what we are seeing on the 4-hourly time frame, and I will switch over to the even lower time frames to look at this even clearer. What we're seeing is this huge W structure being created on Ethereum chart, as well as we saw on today's previous live stream on Bitcoin. We were seeing exact the same pattern being created on Bitcoin. We already broke above the neckline of this W structure, but it could be very possible that we will be seeing Ethereum break above the neckline of this structure. And if we break above the neckline is over here. We already saw Ethereum once tested the neckline horizontal resistance that we are having over there. But if right now Ethereum finds support on top of the $2,586 level, I personally think that we will be seeing a retest of these upper horizontal resistance that we are seeing, and as well the neckline of this W structure, as you can see. And once we break above this neckline, I personally think that we will be seeing a momentum switch being created, especially if this happens on a even bigger time frame like the 4-hourly time frame, where I personally think that it has a lot of, more significance than the 1-hourly or 2-hourly time frame. But we will be switching over towards the 2-hourly time frame, where we are seeing that the exact same structure is being created. And what we are seeing even better is that we found support on top of the neckline previously before going down below it. And this means that we already have 3 touch points. One was resistance, and the second 2 were support, were resistance, and this first one was support. Sorry for that. And that's actually why I personally think that we will be seeing a lot of resistance right sorry, right over here before Ethereum will be able to get through this horizontal level of resistance and find support right on top of it. So that's what I'm personally waiting for Ethereum to confirm this trend reversal pattern that we are currently seeing right now on the 2-hourly time frame. But I will be switching back towards the 4-hourly time frame, because there we are seeing actually the same pattern playing itself out, and I will be enabling the RSI to show you what if we are seeing a possible momentum towards the upside being created. And what we are seeing currently right now is nothing spectacular for the moment. And why I think this is not really spectacular is especially because if you take a look at the RSI, we just had a pump towards the upside after being below the dotted line underneath, and we re-entered the purple box on the RSI. And once we are underneath the horizontal dotted line, it means that we are actually seeing Ethereum being oversold at that period of time, and that's why the RSI always after that wants to re-enter inside of the purple box. And we could be seeing once again right now, as you can see, there is a slightly small momentum towards the downside on the Ethereum chart. And this could probably mean that we will see once again the RSI go below the dotted line, and once it goes above it and upward momentum is being created, I personally think that we will see Ethereum having a lot of strength to come back and push through this level of resistance and find support right on top of it. And that is personally what I'm waiting for Ethereum. And if we take a look at the what I personally think is a very good as well indicator for where we could possibly be finding support and resistance, I will be measuring the Fibonacci levels by placing it from the swing high towards the swing low, because that's why I personally prefer when we are seeing a downtrend. And what we are seeing, that where we are trading currently at, is not just the neckline of this W pattern. No, it's as well the 0.382 Fibonacci retracement level and the golden pocket entry for Ethereum. So I personally think, yes, we have to be able to get above the neckline of this W structure, but as well we have to trade above the 0.382 at $2,813 before even getting further up, because as you could see over here, we are having major resistance on the upper area of the chart where we are heading towards, if Ethereum has a reversal pattern that will be playing itself out. So then we will have to take a look at this possible huge resistance above at approximately, let's take a look, $3,435. So that could be possible very significant resistance for Ethereum, what we are looking at, especially because we saw over here that we traded in between the orange box for several it was several days, and we traded as well right underneath and right inside of the orange box as well for several days over here, from the 16th of May until the 19th of May. So that is in particular why I think that we will be seeing this level as major resistance once this W pattern plays itself out, and we would see Ethereum break towards the upside once again. But we could take a look at it differently and actually spin it around and take a look at what we are possibly seeing also being created on the Ethereum chart. And what I personally think that we are also seeing is this descending triangle, but as you can see, we are already with on the 4-hourly candle that we are currently seeing, we already broke below this upward sloping support line, and that is why I am not placing this pattern, because this pattern is not significant if already on the second touch point we broke below this upward sloping support. So I personally won't be drawing it like this, but we could be possibly drawing this a little bit different, especially if you think that Ethereum will be having even more downward momentum being created. That could be a descending triangle that you are seeing over here that we could measure like this. And if we see this potential move towards the downside being created, especially because descending triangles tend to move towards the downside, and especially break out towards the downside if the previous thread is as well towards the downside. And as we can clearly see on Ethereum, what we are seeing is that a very big momentum towards the downside has been there during the previous couple of days. So it could be very possible that this descending triangle could tend to break out towards the downside. But right now, I'm personally still looking forward on how this W pattern will play itself out. But as you can see, we are also right inside of the descending triangle lines that I placed, and we are already having 2 touch points on this downward sloping resistance line over here, actually many touch points if you count each candle separately. And we are also already seeing a test of this horizontal support line underneath, not just once but as well on this wick of this candle that found it's quite difficult to stay actually above it. So it broke through it, but it immediately went right up, and that's what we're seeing right now, that the body of this candle is still inside of the descending triangle. And I personally think this is just great news. Welcome back, bro. Thank you very much for watching this live stream once again, Lionard Jason. And I would like to, as I said before, answer all your questions if you have those. So this is just currently what I'm seeing on the Ethereum chart. If we are possibly breaking towards the downside during the short term, I personally think that we could be seeing a breakout towards the downside that will be possibly look like this, especially if we break out of this descending triangles towards the downside instead of towards the upside. And that could be a possible move towards the downside, or a possible breakout towards the downside of 27% for Ethereum. So that would be very critical if you ask me, especially because then we won't be seeing a trend reversal being created, and I in particular am waiting for a trend reversal to confirm that we are still inside of the bull cycle. So also I feel a little bit dumb, sorry for that. I just forgot to give you as well the price indication where it could be heading to, and that would be at approximately $1,781. But I personally do not think that this will be happening, because if we break even further down, I think there is major resistance at this orange box. As you could see before, we traded several times, it served as resistance. After that, we broke inside of the orange box and we traded on top of this, creating support on it, but as well it served as support and resistance over here, and it served as support once we broke above it many times. So that's why I personally think that this is a critical orange box and a real price target. I personally think that if this descending triangle breaks even further down, we will be seeing Ethereum find support inside of this orange box. For the people who are wondering what will happen with Ethereum if this pattern, this descending triangle, plays itself out. But as I said before during this live stream, I personally think that we won't be seeing that happen on Ethereum. I personally think that we will see Ethereum break out of this W pattern and confirm that a trend reversal is being created. So if it breaks above this horizontal resistance and finds support on top of it, I personally will be very glad to see Ethereum once again come back and take a look at the overall space. So yeah, that's true, Leonard. People will be actually very pumped to buy at the 2K level, but I personally won't be necessarily looking at the 2K level as a level where I would like Ethereum to go even further down, find support inside of this orange box, because I personally think that it will be healthier if Ethereum right now broke above this neckline of this W structure and find support right on top of it and go even further up, especially because, as I showed you before, we are also trading right underneath the golden pocket entry on the Fibonacci retracement. So that's, I personally think, something very important. And let's take a look at this news. I wanted to show you this because I think it's very interesting news about Ethereum and Bitcoin at the same time. So what we are seeing is institutional investors bought more Ethereum than Bitcoin last month. For the first time ever, institutional Ethereum inflows outperform inflows into Bitcoin. And I think personally this is just huge news, because it could be very probable that due to this inflow on Ethereum and many other big cap or big cap altcoins like Cardano and Polkadot, the interest in altcoins will surge, and we will be seeing a altcoin season being created after, of course, Bitcoin consolidates for a while. It could be very possible that we will see huge pumps towards the upside being created before, that's my personal opinion, of course, before Bitcoin will go even further. We will be already seeing some of these coins recovering very quickly, and of course I personally think that they will recover quicker than Bitcoin. So let's take a look at this bigger bets for Ethereum. And what I wanted to show you is actually not the entire thing. And what I wanted to show you is the inflow on other alts. And what we are seeing over here is that flowing on the heels of Ethereum, which saw 27 million worth of inflow last week. 27 million, right? That's just a huge amount for last week's inflow on Ethereum, even while there was a downtrend going on. So this means that people are actually really accumulating Ethereum, accumulated Bitcoin, but most of the companies and institutional investors are investing in Ethereum right now, and that is personally why I think that we will see a huge momentum on Ethereum being created. And we are also seeing 6 million on Cardano and 3.3 million inflowing on Polkadot as well. And I think this is huge news, especially because we saw that the inflow overall on Bitcoin was just really way lower this month, and that is why I personally would like to recommend you to read this article on Crypto Slate, and you will find lots of information that I personally think is very, very interesting, especially because this actually is telling us that the institutions are still very interested in Ethereum, and in not just Ethereum but many other type of altcoins. And that is why I think there are potential profits that you can be taking by investing in those coins, especially because once they become even bigger, institutions will see their value and will like to buy even more of these, creating an even higher demand, and the price of course will be heading back up in no time. So let's take a look at the chart of Ethereum compared to Bitcoin. To back up my theory, where I'm personally very glad that we are seeing is that Ethereum is right now retesting this upward sloping support line that we saw over here had already 2 touch points, and it found support right on top of it just several days ago, and right now it is retesting this support line. And I'm personally very, very happy to see this happening right now on the Ethereum compared to Bitcoin chart, because what you are seeing is that if Ethereum doesn't break underneath this upward sloping support line and find support on top of it, we will be already seeing two touch points on this upward sloping support line, and we could be placing a horizontal resistance over here like this. And what you're seeing is that still we have to wait for a second confirmation, a retest of this horizontal resistance. But once we have that retest and we find once again support on top of this upward sloping resistance line, we will break above this horizontal level of resistance. And if we break out of this ascending triangle, and just keep in mind that ascending triangles most of the time tend to break out towards the upside, I personally think that we will be seeing a huge momentum towards the upside being created. And the possible breakout for Ethereum, if it finds support, of course, on top of this upward sloping support line, will be, if you ask me, very significant. And that's why I will be measuring it for you, and I will be placing it both ways, either up or either towards the downside. And what we are seeing immediately is that this is a possible move on Ethereum of approximately, well, let's take a look, 8%. And that would be actually pretty amazing, because if Ethereum breaks out of this ascending triangle, small ascending triangle that we're seeing towards the upside, it would mean that we are right now going to see Ethereum going back up, finding support on top of these levels, and trade in between like it did before it went even further up, and also before it broke towards the downside. But I think if we stay in between these two levels of support and resistance, that would be very healthy for Ethereum to trade in between those levels until it once again tests the upward sloping support line and creating a next pattern on the chart. So that's what I personally think that could be happening over here. And of course you could be looking at it differently, but that is what I will be showing you just in a few seconds. But if we break down towards the downside on Ethereum, what I personally think is that we will be having as well approximately 9% drop towards the downside, and we will be finding support over here. That is of course what I personally think, especially because if you look further back, we found this was a major level of resistance, and that is personally why I think that it could serve as support once this pattern would break out towards the downside. But I personally think that it will be breaking out towards the upside if Ethereum doesn't break underneath the upward sloping support line. And also, if we break out towards the downside, I would be very careful on Ethereum overall, because if Ethereum breaks underneath this upward sloping support line, I personally think that it will be a confirmation of the trend towards the downside, and that we will be seeing Ethereum go even further down during the upcoming days compared to Bitcoin for sure. But just to confirm where we are heading to, and if it will be at this level of support where we found previous resistance, I will be enabling the moving averages, but I will be enabling those on the daily time frame. And of course here we are not seeing the ascending triangle because the daily candles are just bigger. Of course, if we spot a pattern on the daily chart, it is more significant, but right now we don't have that data to confirm an ascending triangle on the daily chart. That is why I will be enabling the moving averages. And what you can see that I think is very probable that we will find support over here, especially because we had previous resistance on this level, is also because right over there we are seeing the 50-day moving average, and the 50-day, 100-day and 200-day moving average serve all three as support. And of course, once a moving average is more significance is when it is a higher moving average, meaning that it counts for more days. So the 50-day moving average, it is significant, of course, but it is not as significant as the 200-day moving average. So it could be also possible that we would be moving even further down. But right now, because it is only an 8% drop that I am personally expecting that will happen on the Ethereum chart, I think that we will be finding support on the 50-day moving average, and that is something that is, yes, it is still healthy, but it will be, for the overall upward trend on Ethereum, it would be very bad news if we break this upward sloping support line compared to Bitcoin. So that is what I wanted to show you, and I would like to ask you all if you would like me to discuss a coin that you are particularly invested in. Oh, you are following Basic Attention Token? I could give you a review on Basic Attention Token if you would like me to. Otherwise, please let me know in the comments what you would like me to be discussing right now during this live stream. Also, before I will be heading even further, don't forget, if you are liking this content, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And if you are new into the cryptocurrency space or you would like to start leverage trading, I have down below in the description this top 3 leverage trading exchanges where you can earn up to $2,000 deposit bonus even if you are already an existing user on Femex by using the link down below. Of course, if you are an existing user, you already have your personal account, so you have to do it on your personal account. But if you don't have an account yet, don't forget to use the link down below to make your spot trading and leverage trading and start trading right away. So if you're interested in that, don't forget to use the link down below. And if you are liking this content, don't forget to hit that like button. So let's take a look at Basic Attention Token for Lionheart Jason. So if we are taking a look at Basic Attention Token, that's right over here. What we are currently seeing is that, yes, Basic Attention Token broke down below this upward sloping support line and is currently trading underneath, right on top of the 200-day moving average. And I personally think this is just, as I said before, the 200-day moving average serves as a major level of support, and that's exactly what you're seeing over here. You are seeing that Basic Attention Token found support on top of the 200-day moving average. And what I would like to take a look at for now is actually the MACD. And what we are seeing on the MACD is that we are still having downward momentum, and the MACD crossover is not there yet anytime soon. And it could still be possible that after the crossover, we'll be seeing even further momentum towards the downside being created. But I personally think that won't be happening, especially because we are seeing over here a huge momentum towards the downside being created already on the MACD, and it would be just not logical at all, because you don't tend to see a even bigger downward momentum if you already had a huge momentum towards the downside previously to that. So it is very possible that once we see a crossover on the MACD, that we will be seeing a upward momentum being created instead of a downward momentum, and that would be very, very good for Basic Attention Token, especially because if Basic Attention Token trades sideways just during the couple of days, it will be probable that we will be finding resistance underneath the 100-day moving average. But once we break above the 100-day moving average and it becomes support, we will be seeing a move towards the upside, and maybe even we will be re-entering the trend by finding support on this current upward sloping resistance. But right now we are just looking at it, and I personally think that this is quite good to know that on the daily chart the MACD could be probably giving us momentum towards the upside instead of towards the downside, and that we are finding support on top of the 200-day moving average. for basic attention token compared to the US dollar, of course. So let's take a look at the 4-hourly chart, and what we are seeing over here is actually that we are underneath the moving averages. But as I say before during my videos, once we're looking at the daily chart, I think that is more significant. But right now, of course, these will serve as major levels of resistance above us. So that is something to take a look at. And what I think is very good to look at right now is that on the basic attention token, we are as well seeing a W structure being created. And that's actually also the reason why I think that we will be seeing a trend reversal being created on Bitcoin. And I wanted to just make this clear, because we are seeing this pattern not just being created on Bitcoin, but we are seeing it being created on many different altcoins as well. And that is something that I personally think is indicating that we are right now currently seeing a trend reversal being created not just on Bitcoin, but also as well on many altcoins at the same time. So if we break above this neckline, the move towards the upside that we could be seeing would be a potential move of approximately, let's take a look by measuring this part over here, and that would give a basic attention token enough strength to go not only above this upward sloping resistance and finding support right on top of it, but also re-entering the previous uptrend, and that would be really significant and amazing if this happened. So that is of course my personal opinion on if it broke towards the upside. But we could also be looking at this as a ascending triangles, as I told you before. But right now, due to this current candle that is very negative towards the downside, I personally think that the ascending triangle will not be as significant as the W structure that we are seeing right now. And especially if we once again see this rebounds of basic attention token, it personally will make sense for me if it is able to go through this horizontal level of resistance where we are currently having some trouble with of this W structure. So that's basic attention token just for this particular moment. And I would like to go even further towards the Bitcoin chart to see what we are currently looking at. And yes, what we are seeing on the basic attention token chart is this massive breakout towards the downside, as I was talking about during my video on basic attention token. And yes, I am glad we are still inside, or well, above and inside of the orange bags, because this is a major level of support and resistance. And yes, I think this is very important for basic attention token, and especially because we had this huge wick towards the downside, even going all the way to here, but immediately it went back up, and we saw that the second wick towards the downside did not even go through this level of support over here, where we saw previous support many times, and also a lot of days we traded in between these levels of support and resistance. And that's why I personally think that I'm very glad that basic attention token is right now trading above this level. And right now I am just curious if we will see this W formation being created on basic attention token for the moment, to see if basic attention will be able to re-enter this upward sloping resistance and finding support right on top of it, because then it will be also re-entering the previous trend. And I think that is just something that would be really great to see, because after that recovery, not just on basic attention token, as well on Ethereum and all other type of altcoins that we're seeing currently, it would mean that a trend reversal really actually started, and a possible movement towards the upside would be created. And I'm just waiting for it to happen. So let's take a look as well at the relative strength index to see what it is actually indicating. And this is right away giving me signals that are, for me personally, very, very good, because what we are seeing over here is that not just on the RSI, we are already almost underneath the dotted line, telling us that we are actually overbought, oversold on basic attention token, but it will also mean that we will see a recovery of the RSI entering once again inside of the purple area, and if it does so, as well, the price action of basic attention will follow, and we will see that W structure being created, and that is something I am just very pumped to just wait and see how this will play itself out. So that is something I wanted to show you. I'm very, very, very happy you're watching my live stream, and I'm very pumped that you are liking this content so far. If someone would like me to discuss another coin than basic attention token, I would really appreciate if you place that in the comment section so I could discuss that as well. But otherwise, I will be heading towards, let's take a look. What is something really fun to take a look at? I personally haven't take a look at Chainlink for a while, so I will be looking at Chainlink for this current moment to see how Chainlink is performing right now and what it could be possibly doing during the upcoming days. And right now what we saw is, unfortunately, we had this huge pattern compared to Bitcoin on the Chainlink chart, and this pattern, as you could see, we were already breaking out of this pattern, going even further up, but after that we were rejected at this particular level, and we are right now currently going down. So I will be placing just a, let's take a look at Fibonacci retracement to see where we will possibly find support right now when we are going down. Oh, let's take a look from swing high towards the swing low of the uptrend that we are seeing over here being created. I'm not selecting the entire overall trend, but I'm selecting just the trend of the previous weeks. Unfortunately, it is not selecting the highest wick point as I wanted, but I selected the low from swing high towards swing low to see where we will be finding support and resistance levels on during this uptrend. And what we are seeing right now is that Chainlink went all the way down towards this level where it's currently trading at, and it's trading underneath the 0.382 Fibonacci level, and I personally think that this is rather good, or well, yes, I think it is a good thing to see right now, because it's trading in between the 0.382 Fibonacci level and as well the 0.5 Fibonacci level, and I think the golden pocket entry level, that's the yellow line that you're seeing over here, is just a very good indicator to take a look at if you want to find major levels of support or resistance, but especially because once it breaks above the golden pocket entry, that is right now not just serving as horizontal resistance on top of it, it is also serving as the neckline of once again a W structure that we are seeing over here on the Chainlink chart. And this is something I think is personally very important, because if we break above the 0.382 and we find support on top of it, I personally do not think that we are not just seeing a trend reversal being created, we are also seeing that the Chainlink found support on top of the 0.382 level, and that it is an actual very, I think it's a very significant indicator that it is a perfect entry if you would like to accumulate even more Chainlink, because after that we will be seeing a trend reversal for sure happening if it doesn't break out towards the downside. And yeah, I personally think that after this it will be for Chainlink easy, after a period after accumulation, to break above the 0.236 level of Fibonacci, especially because yes, we have seen previous data showing us that it is a major level of support and resistance, but if we see a trend reversal actually getting created, I personally think that we will be seeing a trend line that will be strong enough for Chainlink to go even above this Fibonacci level. So that's what I am curious if Chainlink will be able to, as well on Chainlink, this W structure will be able to play itself out. So lots of W structures right now, and it's just not because I'm a huge fan of those, but it's because what the actual market is actually telling us right now. And what the market is telling us is that we are seeing lots of clear messages that we are reaching a bottom at these particular levels where we're currently trading at. And that's why I'm very pumped about the price action of not just Chainlink, but of all the altcoins and Bitcoin as well. And for sure, I will be placing just a, not only the neckline of this W structure, I will be also showing you this descending triangle that you could be also drawing over here, because I think it is very important to take a look at these descending triangles, because if Chainlink tends to break out toward the downside, we could be seeing a possible drop that will be something I personally think will be a drop even further down. And if that drop happens, it will be a drop that could be something similar to this, and that would be a drop of approximately, let's take a look, 15% towards the downside. Of course, it is not a major drop towards the downside, but if you take a look at the overall drop that Chainlink already had during the past couple of hours, it would be a even further drop. And if we take a look at the overall drop all the way down, I personally think that we have already seen a 38% drop. And if we measure this even further to the point of the breakout, it would be a 42, almost 43% drop from the beginning of this cycle towards the downside. And I personally think that that would be still inside of the healthy setback levels, but I would be more euphoric if Chainlink went towards the upside instead of towards the downside, especially because if it goes all the way down, it will be trading below the 0.618 Fibonacci level, and it will be finding resistance underneath it. So that will be something that I will be carefully taking a look at, and that is why I personally think that it will be very good if we saw a trend reversal being created by this W structure that we are seeing right now on Chainlink, and if we find support on top of it, we will be seeing a movement towards the upside as well being created. And this movement is a little bit smaller, but you can select the wick as well of this candle to give you a better probable scenario of where it will be heading towards. And what we're seeing is that if this breakout towards the downside upside is created, it will be a breakout of approximately 15% as well. And that is something I am just really more comfortable with, because if this happens, we will not just have created support on top of the 0.382 level, but we will be also heading even higher and maybe finding support on top of this 0.236 Fibonacci level on the, of course, on the Bitcoin compared to Chainlink chart, on the Chainlink compared to Bitcoin chart on the 4-hourly time frame. But I still think this is something rather important to look at, and that is why I will be enabling as well the EMA ribbon. And what we are seeing over here is that we are still seeing a lot of downward momentum on the EMA ribbon, that we just had the shorts taking over the longs. But as you can see in the past, this can be a short takeover of the shorts that could just last several hours or several days, but after those days we could see Chainlink recovering, finding support on top of the EMA ribbon instead of the current overhead resistance that we're seeing. And if we break above the EMA ribbon and find support on top of it, I personally think that it will be for sure a move towards the upside that will be created. That's just my analysis on Chainlink compared to Bitcoin right now, and that is why I will be heading to the Chainlink compared to the US dollar chart. So guys, if you are liking this video so far, do not forget to give me a thumbs up right underneath. I would really appreciate that. You will be supporting the channel by doing so, so that would be really amazing. And what we are seeing over here is actually this major downtrend towards the downside on the Chainlink compared to the US dollar chart. And yes, it has been quite a major drop towards the downside that we saw over here on Chainlink, especially because if you draw this parallel channel, you could see that we were inside of a downward momentum and we broke actually below this parallel channel at this certain moment. But we are not just seeing this major level right now where we are also once again seeing this W structure maybe playing itself out, but we are also trading being rejected by this downward sloping resistance of this parallel descending channel where we had already seen multiple touch points on the lowest part. So that is for me something very important to look at. But what is very important for me as well, if I place once again a trend line to just give you an example of where the neckline of this W structure could be, I personally think that if we break above this, we will not only be re-entering this trend. That is something very important to me, because if we re-enter this descending parallel channel and we break above this descending resistance on the upper area where we have been rejected already multiple times, that would mean that we are actually not just seeing a trend reversal over here playing itself out by a W structure that broke above this horizontal level of resistance and find support on it, but it also, if it is able to break above this downward sloping resistance line of this descending parallel channel, Chainlink will be finding major support on top of it, and then the actual trend reversal will be seen. That is of course my personal opinion. Right now I'm currently looking at what is happening over here, but after that I will for sure be looking at Chainlink and closely monitoring if Chainlink will be having enough strength to go above this downward sloping resistance line of this descending parallel channel. So just to take a look at where we're currently at with the moving averages on the Chainlink chart compared to the US dollar on the daily candles, we are seeing that we are right now on top, right on top of the 200-day moving average, underneath the 100-day moving average. And that is also why I think this neckline, well, the neckline is still there, but it's not as significant as it was before, because right now we are not seeing a W structure at all being created. This is due to the daily candles. Those are of course more significant, but right now we are not seeing a clear pattern being created over here. So that's why I will disable the neckline of the W structure that we saw in the forward chart. But what we are seeing over here is that we are finding major resistance, not just from the 100-day moving average over here that is trading above it. You can see that we have been rejected due to the candle wicks that went all the way up and weren't able to go above this 100-day moving average. But right now we are also finding support actually right on top of the 200-day moving average. And I personally think that the 200-day moving average is something to take to really do not underestimate, because the 200-day moving average is actually giving a lot of support to Chainlink and to all assets that are seeing. And what I personally think is that we do not want Chainlink to break underneath the 200-day moving average, because if this happens, as we saw previously in the past, once we break below the 200-day moving average, well, it hasn't happened for a while. That would mean, this is quite unfortunate, I'm very sorry, I thought it would be happening rather shortly than this. But if we break even further down below the 200-day moving average, this would mean for me that we still are in a downtrend, and I'm actually not very happy if this happens on the Chainlink chart. And that is actually also why I will be enabling the RSI to take a look at it. And what we are seeing over here is that we are actually on the RSI on the lower part of the purple box, and once we break underneath the dotted white line, we will be on the oversold area. And once we are on the oversold area on the RSI, most of the times the RSI wants to re-enter the purple box, and once it re-enters the purple box, it will also be seen on in the price action of Chainlink, especially because if the RSI, if the strength, the buyer strength increases, we will also see that the price action of Chainlink will be towards the upside. And if this happens, we won't see Chainlink go below the 200-day moving average, and maybe even go above the 100-day moving average and finding support on top of the 100-day moving average, instead of going below the 200-day moving average, as I discussed before. So that is just for now what I wanted to show you on the link chart, and I'm very glad that you are watching this video right now, and that is what I wanted to let you know, that it would be highly appreciated if you like the video down below. And if you would like to stay up to date with even more live streams on crypto and even more content about all types of coins, don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell notification. So let's take a look at another coin. Does anyone in the chat have any requests right now and would like me to discuss a particular coin? Don't be afraid, don't hesitate to ask in the chat down below. So please give me a coin where you would like to talk about. Otherwise, I will be choosing the coin myself. Sorry for that. I am actually experiencing a sore throat, so that is not something really comfortable right now, but it still is something that you have to live with. And I will be going towards the price action of Polkadot, especially because no one has any special request. I will be proceeding with the Polkadot chart, and what we are seeing over here on Polkadot is something I think is of utmost importance. What we are seeing is actually this uptrend, this upward sloping support line. We broke right through it, and we are currently trading far underneath this upward sloping support line. And I will be removing this line as well, because I don't think it is of any significance at all anymore, especially because right now I'm personally waiting for Polkadot to break above this level where we are currently trading at, and I will be placing a box just to show you where I am personally thinking that we will be finding major resistance, and that is over here. Because over here we saw in the past, we already saw that we traded in between this orange box, but we did not only trade in between the orange box, we also found multiple times support on top of it, as you could see over here. But we also experienced resistance over here and over here. So I personally think that this is a major level of support and resistance where we're currently looking at, and I think I am looking forward for Polkadot to break towards the upside. But what we are seeing right now is this huge candle towards the downside being created, and that is what I would like to zoom in and take a look at the 2-hourly chart to take a look at what is happening right now on the Polkadot chart. And Yes, I am actually looking at it, and I'm thinking that we are seeing a breakout towards the downside being created on the polka dot chart right now, and we are not seeing that W structure actually being playing itself out on the polka dot chart. It still could be possible, but of course polka dot has to find enough strength to move towards the upside, and that is why I will be enabling the MACD to take a look at what possible momentum is telling us. And what it's telling us right away is that we right now have seen a crossover on the MACD, and this means that we are seeing right now momentum towards the downside being created. And what we are seeing on the chart is as well a negative candle for sure opening itself up just 2 minutes ago. And yeah, I think this will be a negative candle that could be going even further down if you take a look at Polkadot on the current moment. And that is why I will be placing a small Fibonacci retracement on the 2-hourly chart to take a look at what this could possibly tell us and how we have to react. So let's take a look at this. And what we are seeing over here is this Fibonacci is telling us that if Polkadot breaks towards the downside, it is very possible that it will break out all the way down towards the 1.681, and that is approximately $14.74. And of course, I am not pumped about this at all, because I don't think this is a healthy setback for Polkadot, especially because if you take a look at this overall downtrend, and if we measure this downtrend just for a minute now, if we measure it from the beginning of the all-time high towards downtrend where we are currently at, where it could be heading to, it would be a setback of almost 70%. So that is just an insane move towards the downside that we would be seeing on the Polkadot chart, and this is not something I'm actually really pumped about at this particular moment. So Polkadot, it's something to be monitoring right now for sure, especially if you're holding, or if you have even a a long or short position. Please take a look at Polkadot right now before you are being liquidated, because for sure that's something you don't want to be seeing. So let's take a look at this. The candle is of course switching, especially on these lower time frames. We are seeing a lot of action inside of the body and the wicks of the candles being created, and that's especially something what I do not like about trading on lower time frames. Only if I am personally looking at, for example, a trade opportunity, I would be looking at the smaller time frames. But right now I am not looking at the smaller time frame of Polkadot. I will be heading back towards the 4-hourly time frame, because I would like to look at as well the EMA ribbon and what it is telling us currently. And what the EMA ribbon is telling us is that the shorts took over the longs, and the EMA ribbon is currently acting as resistance on the upper area, and we haven't tested this resistance yet. So this is something I'm personally also worried about, because we haven't tested the EMA ribbon right now as resistance. And what is, I personally think, very important for a cryptocurrency, doesn't matter which type of cryptocurrency, is to find support above the EMA ribbon, because the EMA ribbon actually gives a lot of momentum towards the upside if you find support on top of it, because after that point we will see a switch on the EMA ribbon once again. And if that happens, as you could see over here, once we broke above the resistance of the EMA ribbon, find support on top of it, the longs take over the short positions, and a huge momentum towards the upside is being created. So that is something I personally think that would be very great to see. But right now we are just experiencing a lot of overhead resistance, and that is why I am personally very keen to wait and see if Polkadot will be able to go through this EMA ribbon and find support on top of it. Maybe not now, but during the upcoming days. So this is something I wanted to take a look at. For now, I will be heading towards the daily time frame on the Polkadot compared to US dollar chart to take a look at the moving averages. And what we are seeing over there is that we are right now trading underneath the 200-day moving average, or well, right now today's candle is trading on top of the 200-day moving average, as you can see. And the 200-day moving average, as I said before as well during this live stream, is a very important moving average, especially because this moving average is a major level of support and resistance and has a lot of significance. And if we do not find support on top of this moving average, once we go below the moving averages, especially below the 200-day moving average, but there is not enough data in the past, so that is something I personally think is just a little bit of a pity that we are not able to see that data. But what I wanted to tell you is this: once we do not find support on top of the 200-day moving average, it is inevitable that we will be heading towards even lower price targets on the Polkadot chart. And of course, because we are right now looking at the daily candles, we are not recognizing any type of pattern that is playing itself out. But just for the current moment, I will be very happy if Polkadot finds support on top of the 200-day moving average. And I will be also looking at the MVT of Polkadot, and what we are seeing over here, well, this is actually great news, because the MVT is something it's a very nice indicator. I personally think so, because the MVT, what it actually shows you is when a asset is oversold or overbought and what tends to happen after that period of time. And what you could see over here is that on this particular moment, I will zoom out a little bit more. On this particular moment, Polkadot was overbought for sure, and after that we saw a moment towards the downside on the NVT, but a moment towards the upside after that was really after this consolidation, when on the NVT there was less and less people that were interested in buying Polkadot. After that, we saw a huge spike of interest, and we saw as well a huge momentum being created towards the upside. And what you can see is when we are seeing a white indication on the NVT, it is actually telling us that it is very probable that we will see a switch of momentum. So it is very probable right now that we will be seeing Polkadot not going even further down on the NVT, but going up. And if it does so on the NVT, it is very likely to find a moment of possible consolidation, or it will even go up. So this is just something I wanted to show you as well, and I think this is a real good indicator that it is very probable that we will be finding support on top of the 200-day moving average, and that is something I in particular is something that satisfies me to see, because that is of utmost importance that we stay above the 200-day moving average. That's of course my personal opinion. You can do your own research, but I think it is a somehow very important level of support and resistance. So this is DOT compared to the US dollar, and I will be heading further towards the DOT compared to Bitcoin chart. But before me going even further and taking a look at the Bitcoin chart, I wanted to let you know, guys, that if you are very interested in my channel and if you would like to support this channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and even that bell notification if you would like to stay up to date about my live stream at any time of the day. And as well, if you haven't started trading yet and you are interested in trading crypto, even if you are not willing to leverage trade, you can use the links the link down below in the description. Sorry for that. And you can earn up to $2,000 deposit bonus on Femex if you use the link down below, even if you are already a existing account holder on Femex. You are able to earn up to $2,000 deposit bonus, so that is just wonderful news. So let's take a look at here. I really hope you are enjoying the content, and if you do so, don't forget to hit that like button as well. So what we are seeing over here is that Polkadot, actually compared to Bitcoin, it's still looking strong, but unfortunately on the compared to US dollar chart, I'm not actually very happy about how the price action is looking right now. But what we are seeing over here is that Polkadot is right now once again retesting this upward sloping support line, and this upward sloping support line, especially in the Polkadot chart, is for me of utmost significance, because compared to Bitcoin, we have already seen several touch points on this upward sloping support line, and how more touch points a trend line has, how more significance the trend line will be in the future and is right now. So what I'm personally waiting for is for Polkadot to close this daily candle above, or maybe just a small tad underneath the upward sloping support, because this would mean that we are still seeing a downtrend being created on the Polkadot chart compared to Bitcoin. And just to back up my theory, if this could be possible, of this daily candle closing above the upward sloping support, I will take a look at the MACD. And what we are seeing here is a crossover being created after a huge period of upward momentum, and that is something I'm personally not very pumped about and happy, because this could probably mean that we will see downward momentum being created, and once Polkadot breaks underneath this upward sloping support line and won't find support on top of it, that would mean that it is very likely for Polkadot to head towards even lower price ranges on the compared to US dollar chart, and as well it will be losing strength compared to Bitcoin, and that is something I personally think is very important as well, especially if Bitcoin recovers. You would like to see Polkadot still holding strong compared to Bitcoin, so it will be having enough strength to have exponential growth towards the upside being created. So that is what I'm looking currently at right now on the Polkadot chart. I will be heading towards the 4-hourly time frame to take a look at where we are standing over there. And what we're seeing is that we are already underneath the upward sloping support. It is currently upward sloping resistance, and I am personally not very happy about this, because once Polkadot does this, it could mean that we would be seeing a trend reversal compared to Bitcoin and a downtrend getting started, and that is for sure something you don't want to happen, because if it loses strength compared to Bitcoin, the price action of Polkadot will be also going towards the downside instead of towards the upside. So that is something I just wanted to take a look at, and of course I will be looking at possible levels of support and resistance, and if Polkadot breaks even further down, yes, for sure it could be finding support on top of this orange line over here, but I personally think that if it has not enough strength, it will be heading down towards this level of support, especially because we saw that previous momentum towards the downside stopped all the way over here, and we saw as well many times that it was previous resistance. So I think this is a very important level of support and resistance, and that this level will actually hold as support if Polkadot breaks even further towards the downside, something I'm personally not waiting for, but if it happens, we will have to take a even closer look at Polkadot. But let's go further and see if we can spot any bullish or bearish divergence on the Polkadot chart by enabling the RSI. And what we are seeing right over here is actually something that is giving me a little bit of hope right away, because what we are seeing is that Polkadot is right now currently trading underneath the dotted white line, and once it is underneath the dotted line on the RSI, this means that it is heavily oversold, and that we are right now going to re-enter the purple area of the RSI. And if once a once we see a spike in the RSI, we also see upward momentum being created on the chart, and that is something that right now is really helpful for Polkadot to be able to close this 4-hourly candle above this upward sloping resistance where it's currently trading underneath, and maybe or possibly finding on top of it support and re-entering the previous trend. And that would be something I would be very happy to see, and that right now is most likely going to happen, especially because of the RSI, and the RSI is a really strong indicator of what could probably happen. And what we are looking at over here is on the EMA ribbon compared to Bitcoin. Of course, the shorts took over the longs, and we are seeing here a crossover on the EMA ribbon. So the EMA ribbon during the upcoming days will serve as overhead resistance, and before we will be heading even further up, we have to break above the EMA ribbon, finding support on top of it. And if Polkadot does so, the longs will be taken over the shorts once again. And as you could see in the past as well, once this particular action happens, we see a huge momentum towards the upside being created as a reaction of the price action on Polkadot. So I think that would be very nice if we could see Polkadot head back up above this upward sloping resistance right now, find support on top of it, and after that even finding enough strength to maybe consolidate above this upward sloping support, and eventually going through the EMA ribbon and finding support on top of the EMA ribbon as well. So that is something I wanted to show you on the Polkadot chart, and I really hope you are liking this content so far. If you do, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, of course, and please, if you do have any type of requests, don't hesitate to ask right away on the comment section. I will be very happy to discuss the particular coin you are talking about. So that is something I'm just really pumped to look at. Otherwise, I will be taking a look at a different coin, but I won't be discussing something you really want me to be talking about. So, especially because no one requested something, I will be taking a look at Cardano. We are looking at Cardano compared to Bitcoin now, and you are seeing what I think about Bitcoin. So yes, well, welcome back, T. Schuldent. I'm very sorry, I'm not good at pronouncing names, especially not all the internet names that we are seeing. But what I personally think about Bitcoin at the current moment is that we are still holding quite strong at this current moment, and what we are seeing is this W structure being created on the Bitcoin price action. And I think this is actually telling us that we are entering, or we are seeing a trend reversal being created, and that's something I personally like to see right now, because this would mean that we won't be seeing Bitcoin drop even further down. And of course that is possible, but what this pattern is telling me right away is that we are creating this W structure, and if we break above the neckline that I will be drawing for you right now, it is something very interesting to take a look at, because the possible move towards the upside will be something like this, because you have always measured the horizontal level of resistance to the body of the lowest candle on the first dip of the W structure. And if you place it like this, we will be seeing a move of, I personally think, of 12%. Yes, of 12, well, almost 13% being created towards the upside. And that is personally what I'm waiting for, especially because if Bitcoin is able to break not just above this horizontal level of resistance, but also find support on top of this descending resistance, it will be an absolute great trend reversal, and this would mean that Bitcoin will find once again support on top of the level of $4,898. And if it does so, it is a huge level of previous support and resistance. As you can see all the way back, we found several times support on it, and I think that is just a real important level to look at right now. But for the moment, I'm just currently waiting for Bitcoin to break above this horizontal neckline that is currently acting as resistance of the W structure. But if we break above it, we could see a surge towards the upside of almost 13%. So that is personally what I'm seeing right now on Bitcoin on the 4-hourly time frame. And I would like to switch over towards the daily time frame to take a look at the moving averages. And yes, at Bitcoin we are still underneath the 200-day moving average, but the W structure is giving me a lot of hope that we will be able to break above the 200-day moving average, find support on top of it, especially on the daily chart, because it is very significant once we find support on top of the 200-day moving average, as I told you before. And that is personally especially why I want to see this neckline being broken towards the upside and Bitcoin finding support on top of this level at 42,898 US dollar. So that is just what I'm personally looking at. But of course, we are seeing major resistance, not just by that level, but as well by the 200-day moving average that is acting as resistance right now, especially because we are trading underneath it. And that is just something I am worried about, and that is especially why I would like to see a trend reversal at this particular moment and not even further down below at approximately 30k or something, because I think right now where we are currently trading at is the perfect place for Bitcoin to be able to recover and find support on top of the moving averages. That is something I personally think is very, very, very important. So oh, no problem. Welcome, Timer. I'm very glad you are watching the live stream. If you like the content, don't forget to hit that like underneath. And what I will be looking as well at is something completely different. It is actually the NVT of Bitcoin. And why I wanted to take a look at the NVT is because, oh, let's take a look. I will be removing the EMA ribbon for the second time, and now I will be enabling the NVT. And the NVT is telling us, as I showed you on the Chainlink chart, is actually that right now Bitcoin is heavily oversold. And once it is oversold, most of the times we see that the NVT will have momentum towards the upside being created. And if it does so, this would be great news for Bitcoin, because you can see once the NVT goes down, we see that as well the price action of Bitcoin is towards the downside. But once we see this indicator over here, the NVT showing us this white indicator, as we could see as well on this top over here, we see after that we saw a momentum switch towards the downside being created. And this is especially something where I'm looking at right now, because right now the NVT is telling us that we will be seeing momentum towards the upside. And that is in particular why I think it will be very probable that where we are currently at, that we are right now not just at the bottom of this downtrend, but we will also see a trend reversal being created and finding support on top of this level over here. And why is this so important? Because I think Bitcoin will be consolidating for a while, because before moving even further up. And why I think that Bitcoin will be consolidating is especially because if we take a look at the overall trend, and especially if we take a look at just the beginning of the year at approximately, let's take a look over here at the 12th of December, all the way up towards the all-time high right over there, you can take a look at where we are currently at, and where we are currently at is actually at right underneath, not just the neckline of the W structure that we are forming on the 4 hourly, 1 hourly, and all the time frames underneath the 4 hourly time frame, but we are also trading underneath the 0.5 Fibonacci level, and that is personally also why I want Bitcoin to find support on top of it instead of trading underneath it and having a lot of resistance on this level. Because if Bitcoin is able to break above and find support on top of it and trade in between the two Fibonacci levels, it would be absolutely marvelous, because after that momentum of consolidation, I personally think a huge momentum towards the upside will be created for sure on the Bitcoin price action. So this is just what I wanted to show you on Bitcoin right now. If you like the content, don't forget to subscribe. I know I already said it before, but I would really appreciate it if you did so, especially if you're a new viewer. I would really appreciate it if you liked the content, if you would like to stay up to date. But I will be heading even further on the Bitcoin chart by showing you not only the NVT, but I will also show you the MACD. By enabling the MACD, you are seeing that we will be entering a crossover anytime soon. I think maybe even before the end of today. And once we see this crossover, a momentum towards the upside will be very probable on the Bitcoin chart. And if we see this momentum towards the upside being created on the MACD, it will be also giving Bitcoin a lot of strength and momentum. And I personally think that that will be enough momentum for Bitcoin to be able to go through this horizontal level of resistance where we are currently trading underneath and find support right on top of it. So that is something I most say is very important. And as well, if Bitcoin moves above the 200-day moving average, that is something in particular where I'm looking very closely to, because I think this is a really significant support and resistance level, and we have to break above it before Bitcoin will see a clear trend reversal, if you ask me. So that was just for now what I wanted to talk about on the Bitcoin chart. And if anyone has any type of requests, please don't hesitate to ask. Please ask those down below in the comment section, and I will be discussing the coin that you would like me to discuss. Otherwise, I will be heading to Litecoin, and let's take a look at Litecoin. Well, actually, I will take a look at Litecoin and Cardano, and after that, if no one requested something, I will be almost finishing with this live stream. And what we are seeing on the Litecoin chart is that we saw a massive uptrend over here, this very significant and that is just of utmost significance, this uptrend line where we had multiple touch points, as you could see. And I think it is very important that what we are seeing right now is that Litecoin broke underneath it and is right now struggling to break above this level of overhead resistance at $221. So this is just something I wanted to discuss, because I am I like to invest in Litecoin, and I think Litecoin is a coin with a lot of potential. But right now I am seeing this price action breaking below this upward sloping support line. And what I'm personally thinking right now is, where will this actually going to end? And that is why I will be drawing even more levels of support and resistance. If you could give me just 1 second to place them as correctly as possible. Let's take a look. all the way here and here, and we're also seeing one over here. Let's take a look. Perfectly. So what we are seeing are these levels of support and resistance where we could be headed towards, and that is why I will also be placing this Fibonacci retracement to take a look if we break towards the downside, where we will be breaking all the way towards. And I selected the swing low towards the swing high to measure this level of extension towards the downside. And what we are seeing over here is that if Litecoin breaks even further down towards the downside, it is very probable that we will see Litecoin break all the way to the 125 US dollar or even the 110 US dollar, because that is the 1.618 Fibonacci level. But we are still seeing as well on Litecoin a W structure being created that could be possibly playing itself out, especially if Bitcoin does the same as well. And if Litecoin breaks out of this neckline, it would be maybe able to re-enter the previous trend if it has enough strength, of course, because it is a trend with a lot of significance, especially because it had multiple touch points. And breaking above this trend is just, I think, rather difficult. So yes, if we break out of this W structure, if the measurement will be followed as we see over here, we will be able to re-enter, to break above this upward sloping resistance and finding support on top of it. But I personally think that a lot of strength needs to be created to be able to break above this upward sloping resistance, especially because we saw already multiple touch points, as I said before, in the past. And that is just something that makes this trend line very significant, but also very hard to get above. So that is what I think personally that could be happening right now over here if it breaks towards the upside. But let's take a look. What we are currently seeing over here is a momentum towards the downside being created. And why I think this is just very important is because we cannot draw any type of pattern right away, especially not because we cannot see. No, we can't take a look at it differently. So that is unfortunately, but let's take a look at other indicators that could be giving us more ideas of what Litecoin will be possibly doing. And as you can see on the MACD, what we are looking at is a crossover over here. We had a small crossover just for a small tad. We had momentum towards the upside, as you could see over here. But after that, a second crossover on the MACD happened, and we are once again seeing more momentum towards the downside being created. And this momentum is as big as the previous momentum we are seeing. Of course, it's my personal opinion, but we are seeing Litecoin drop all the way down to approximately, I personally think, $122. Sorry for that. So that's just for now. The MACD is not looking rather strong, is my personal opinion, of course, but it could be switching at any moment. But for sure, what I'm seeing over here is that Litecoin won't be having enough strength to break above the neckline of the W structure, as I showed you before, and retest this upward sloping resistance. So of course, that is quite unfortunate for Litecoin at the current moment, but maybe if we take a look at the Litecoin compared to Bitcoin chart, we will be seeing something completely different happening. But what I'm seeing right away is that we are actually once again seeing that Litecoin broke underneath this major trend line where of utmost significance with multiple touch points on this ascending support line. And I'm personally just not very happy this happened, because if Litecoin could have found support on top of this ascending support, it would be still inside of a overall uptrend. But what we are currently seeing is that Litecoin broke below this level and is right now struggling to find support on top of this level, where we had seen previously a lot of resistance, as you can see over here. And of course, it is of utmost importance for Litecoin to stay above this level if it doesn't want to break out even further down. And that is why I will be also heading towards the daily time frame, enabling the the moving averages. And what we are seeing is that still, if we take a look at the moving averages, it is not very it could have been worse. Let's say it that way. It could have been worse. We could also be underneath the 200-day moving average. That's not something that is happening right now. We are currently finding resistance underneath the 50-day moving average, and we are finding support on top of the 100-day moving average. Especially if you take a closer look, you are seeing that all the wicks of the candles are finding support on top of the 100-day moving average. I think this is of utmost importance to have this 100 and 200-day moving average underneath, because this will serve as major support levels as well. And this is something that will potentially give Litecoin enough strength to stay at this level, and maybe on the US dollar chart even complete the W structure, as you can see. Of course, we have to take a look as well on the Bitcoin chart on the 4-hourly time frame. We could take a look at the EMA ribbon, because the EMA ribbon will be also telling us if there is a lot of overhead resistance. And what we are seeing is that yes, there is a lot of overhead resistance over here, and we have to be able to break above the EMA ribbon, or at least test the EMA ribbon multiple times and get rejected and find support on top of this level before heading even further. And right now I'm not very glad about how Litecoin is evolving and what the indicators are saying. The only indicator that actually gave us a little bit of strength is actually the EMA ribbon, as we can see right now on the daily time frame, because we are all the way down below. But it could be possible that it will still give us enough support so we could bounce back towards the upside. But if a crossover is made here and the shorts are taking over the longs on the Litecoin compared to Bitcoin chart, for sure we will be seeing more downward momentum being created, and Litecoin heading towards the $122 or $110, as I showed you before. So I personally really appreciate all of you guys watching today's live streams. If you would like me to talk about a specific coin, please don't hesitate to ask on the comment section. I would really appreciate that. And if you are liking the content so far, don't forget to hit that subscribe button on the description down below. And if you are interested in trading, especially leverage trading, but even spot trading is possible on this top 3 leverage trading exchanges, don't forget to use the link down below on the description to even support this channel, and you can earn up to $2,000 deposit bonus on Femex if you use the link down below. So that would be really appreciated. So that's what I would like to talk about right now, and because no one actually gave me a topic to talk about, I will be talking about the price action of Cardano and how it's currently looking. So what I'm seeing over here right away is that I have already drawn a few things on the Cardano chart, and if we take a look at the 4-hourly time frame, we are seeing that Cardano has been rejected multiple times by this downward sloping resistance line and also the trend line towards the downside. We are seeing here this multiple touch points, and what I'm personally waiting is for Cardano to break above this downward sloping resistance line, finding support on top of it, and after that a move towards the upside will be inevitable, if you ask me. Especially if we look at Cardano compared to Bitcoin, we are still seeing Cardano inside of this possible ascending triangle that is being created. I'm still waiting for a test of this horizontal level of resistance on the upper area before calling this a ascending triangle, but right now it is looking to form a possible ascending triangle, and once it breaks out of this triangle, it will be a huge move, especially for Cardano, if it is able to stay inside of this uptrend and find support on top of this ascending support line, where we already saw in the past multiple touch points as well. So it is this is a trend line with a lot of significance. If you ask me personally, I think this is very important to stay above it. And if Litecoin retests this upper, if Cardano retests this upper horizontal level of resistance, it would be great to see a rejection and finding support once again on top of the ascending support, because if Cardano does so, this would be a perfect entry point if you wanted to place a long trade. And that is personally what I'm waiting. Of course, you can also wait for this pattern to break out above this horizontal level of resistance and finding support on top of it before entering a trade. But I personally like to place my trades a little bit earlier, so you can gain even more profits while doing so. Of course, this is a riskier version, and it is not meant for everyone. If you are a junior investor and you haven't invested in crypto with leverage at all, I would really recommend you to firstly do your own due diligence very good before entering a trade, and after that, especially using low leverages, and especially right now at this current market phase, I would be using low leverages if you're interested in day trading at all. And this chart of Cardano is actually telling us that Cardano is still in an uptrend. It's still looking strong compared to Bitcoin. And if we enable the 200-day moving averages and the EMA ribbon after that, we are seeing that the moving averages are just so far underneath that these are not even actually acting as support or resistance. So I personally am very happy that these are over here, because if Cardano breaks towards the downside instead of towards the upside out of this possible ascending triangle, we will be seeing Cardano getting stopped. Of course, that's my personal opinion, but getting stopped on top of this moving averages, on top of the 50, 100, or 200-day moving average for sure. And if we enable the EMA ribbon, we are seeing that Cardano is as well far above the EMA ribbon and is not even and is finding support on top of it. Especially if you look at this candle wick, it went all the way down, but it was not able to go all the way through the EMA ribbon, and that is a indicator that we are still seeing that Cardano is finding support on top of the EMA ribbon, and that we are still in a heavy momentum towards the upside, if you ask me, on the Cardano chart. That's also why I would like to enable the MACD. And what we are seeing on the MACD is that a possible momentum towards the downside could be created once we see this crossover over here, especially because we already saw a huge momentum towards the upside during the past days and weeks. And yeah, it is quite possible that we would see momentum towards the downside being created. And if this happens, it will be inevitable, as you could see over here, that we will see Cardano go a little bit further towards the downside. And that is why I think it is very important to look at those moving averages and to take a look where it could be possibly going to if Cardano does not break towards the upside, but instead breaks towards the downside. And that could be very likely, especially if we see a momentum switch being created on the MACD towards the downside as well. So that is of course what I'm personally thinking about Cardano right now. And if you do agree with me, please leave a comment behind so I know you are thinking the same about Cardano. But if you do disagree with me, I would like to know that as well, because I think that's very interesting, and I would like to know what your point of view is right now on Cardano and why you think Cardano is very likely to go further down than further up. But right now, as we could see on the daily time frame, we are still seeing momentum towards the upside being created, and that is personally why I think that we are still strong on Cardano, and that Cardano will be able to break this downward sloping resistance and find support right on top of the downward sloping resistance line, or find support on inside of the orange box in between the $1.57 and the $1.81. So that is something I in particular think is very great. But right now we are seeing as well a momentum switch on the MACD of Cardano on the 4-hourly time frame compared to the US dollar, and that could be possibly meaning that we will be heading further down, so that this downtrend will still, well, follow. So what we are seeing over here is a touch point over here, several touch points over here, a touch point at this part, and a second touch and a third touch point here. So yes, we could be placing a descending triangle just to take a look what Cardano will be doing if it doesn't go towards the upside, it doesn't break above this downward sloping resistance. If Cardano breaks towards the downside, especially because we spotted right now these descending triangles, and descending triangles tend to break out towards this downside, especially tend to break out towards the downside if the previous trend is a downtrend. And what we are seeing over here is exactly what I said. We are seeing a downtrend before this descending triangle, and that could possibly mean that we are breaking out towards the downside. And if we break out towards the downside, the possible breakout would be of approximately, let's take a look, 39%. This would be a huge percentage wise, a huge breakout towards the downside, and we would be trading as well at approximately 90 cents, $90, and that would be a huge and terrible setback for Cardano. That's of course my personal opinion, because I think then we will see Cardano break underneath this upward sloping support line on the Bitcoin chart. But just for now, let's take a look at how this could happen. And what I would like to enable are the Fibonacci levels to take a look at if where it's trended, it could where it is possibly going to strand, if it also makes sense, if it makes sense. Also, if we look at the Fibonacci retracement levels, and what we are seeing over here is, yes, if it goes towards the upside, we will be heading further up. I'm very sorry, we were seeing here a momentum towards the downside, and I made a small mistake by placing the swing high towards the swing low, but we have to take a look at the Fibonacci like this, or it would be even better if I selected the entire bull market, because I prefer to look at that way. Because if you look at the Fibonacci retracement from the beginning of the bull market until the high, I personally think that that will give you the most perfect information on how it will be possibly going to be as levels of support and resistance. And what we are seeing over here is that we are, yes, on top of the 0.382 golden pocket entry, and if we don't find support on top of the golden pocket entry and we go up underneath this orange box as well, we will be heading down and breaking out of this descending triangle that we are seeing over here. And if we break down, I think it is most probable that we won't be going all the way down to this 90 cents level. I personally think that we will stay on top of the 1.618 Fibonacci level, and in between the 1.618 and the 1.5 Fibonacci level, especially because that is personally my opinion, because there is more resistance and support over here. As you could see previously, we found a lot of support on top of these levels, and we found also a lot of support over here, and we found as well even further back resistance at these levels. And if you look at the level where the actual, let's take a look where the, if we look at the level where we will be heading towards if we break out of the descending triangle, and what the descending triangle measurement is telling us where we will be trending at approximately 90 cents. If we go all the way back, right over there, we are not having that much and that significant amount of data that is actually giving us that strength and that very important support over here. And that is personally why I think that we will be, if we are heading towards the downside, we will stop somewhere in between these two lines. So in between the, let's take a look, $1 and $1.10. And that is something that I won't be completely pumped about, but still it would be a setback that is just, it is a setback, but it is still healthy if it stays in between these two lines. And especially if we see Cardano break further down but find support on top of the 0.5 Fibonacci level, that would be even better, because then we would be seeing Cardano for sure breaking above this downward sloping resistance and finding support on top of it, and maybe once again going up and finding support on top of the Fibonacci level of 0.382 and confirming an actual trend reversal by breaking above these downward sloping support resistance line. So that is of course my personal opinion on Cardano for the moment, and also what I personally wanted to tell you for now, because I wanted to start ending this live stream. But of course, if someone has a last request for the live stream, I will be discussing that as well. But please don't forget to place your comment down below so I can take a look at it and also give you my personal analysis on what that particular cryptocurrency will be doing in the upcoming days. Otherwise, if you like this video, don't forget to subscribe down below in the description. And if you have interest in leverage trading, don't forget that you can earn up to $2,000 deposit bonus on Femix if you use the description link down below. So that is just something really amazing. If you liked this live stream, don't forget to give me a thumbs up right away. So that would be very nice of you and will be also supporting the channel for sure. So especially because I did not have any type of requests so far, I will be ending this live stream, and I really hope you enjoyed the content I was giving you during this 1 hour and 45 minutes live stream. Tomorrow I will be having several live streams as well. I will be for sure having 3 live streams during tomorrow. And if you would like to stay up to date, don't forget to hit that bell notification as well if you are subscribed to the channel, to stay up to date about when I will be starting a new live stream or even uploading new videos. So thank you very much once again and have a nice day. Bye.